you so much for joining me today for Made in UK Day. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm excited for today, because every time I keep discovering all these new fantastic businesses that are making things in the UK. And that is just, it's so brilliant to see, and especially we've had a very, let's say, challenging 2 years, which keep being very challenging. And, every time a new challenge arises, I just look at it and think we can't afford to lose any sector in this country. We've got to be able to be strong and to stand independently as much as we can, collaborate with as many people as we can, but we have to be self-sufficient. And in no sector do I feel more passionately that that's true than manufacturing. So very proud to make everything here.
So true. And we just did a survey at Make It British, and we had nearly 1,300 people respond to that survey. And, people were saying, I want to buy made in UK products. I'm willing to pay more for them, but also I really want to buy them from small businesses, not the big, large corporate companies. So what we want to do today is raise awareness for all of the small businesses that make in the UK and to encourage more people that are in the UK. Because I know you were recently featured in the government's, is it called Made in UK Exported Round the World campaign?
Yes.
Which is brilliant. It's brilliant to promote exports, but we kind of need that at home as well, don't we?
We absolutely do. And the thing is, there's no sort of kitemark equivalent to say this is actually made in the UK, which is madness, because people use this goodwill to sort of say, oh, inspired in the UK, or imagined in the UK, designed in the UK. Yeah, but where are you making it? Where are you making it? So for those of us that are actually making from scratch, as my mother would say about her cooking, sidetracked, from scratch in the UK, we want some very obvious mark on there so people can make that choice.
Yeah, definitely. There's too much fake it British going on, as I call it. The old Union Jack, I think, is kind of a good thing and a bad thing. It's almost in a way our downfall, because people think, oh, there's a Union Jack. But you don't put Union Jacks on any of your bags, do you?
No, but people who don't make in the UK do, and it's just, can we just have one standard mark that's regulated so that you can only use it? Not even if you're only doing the last 5% in the UK.
Yeah.
Just if you're making the whole thing. And there's something so wonderful about manufacturing too, because when you came down to our workshops in Syston,
amazing.
You go down there and just to see things being made, there's a real kind of magic to it. I just love it. Not everybody wants to work on a screen.
Yeah, that's so true.
I mean, because otherwise you can't even connect.
No, yeah, that's so true. And actually shout out to everyone that works in your factory, because when I went, I was so impressed by the level of craftsmanship. It's just incredible. I know it's tough as well running a factory, or for anyone, running it. You've got a lot of people that you're responsible for making beautiful things. So
and they've been with us for that. They've been with us for years, and so it's not just if somebody phones in and says so and so has tested positive, won't be in. It's not sort of like, oh, well, that's a gap in the manufacturing. You just sort of think, oh God, wonder if she's okay. Is she going to be all right? How is she doing then? They're people that you get to know. You don't have that connection with your products if you're making it in some factory the other side of the world.
Yeah, so true. So what are your thoughts on how, aside from the kite mark, how else do you think we can encourage people to just really discover more about, also ask brands more about where are you making your products, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that, so when I was in school a long time ago in South Wales, we used to have school trips all the time. We went to Buckley's Brewery, we went to Avon Inflatables Lifecraft, we would always be out and about. I think that the school teachers just loved a nice trip.
I love the sound of the inflatables.
Really excited that they had a minibus. I wanted to get the most out of it. But I don't know, now, and I know that there's a lot of course we need the health and safety things, but isn't it a shame that the kids don't seem to be out and about visiting factories, seeing how things are made, and seeing all the different jobs that maybe they could want to do, all the different crafts that maybe they could want to do, because it's not just a single pathway.
Exactly, and that's the thing. And I think also people think, anything that's like a product related is just about the design, and there's so much more. And it's
oh my gosh, there's so much more. There are so many parts to making every one of the bags that I certainly couldn't do. There are people that have such skills that they can just work wonders, and there's a magic. There is an absolute magic to walking around and seeing those things being made. Maybe I should have like a little hat with a GoPro on it.
I'm now going to ask, if everyone watches this, people are going to start, you're going to get teachers ringing you up saying, okay, when can the bus turn up, please?
Yeah, the bus can turn up. And I think Mark, who runs the workshops in Syston, he's probably looking at this thinking, oh my God, I can't believe she's saying this. But it's so exciting. It is so exciting. I would love more people to actually see what manufacturing looks like.
Yeah, definitely. When we've got inside the factory, Kelly, you've not been on that yet, have you?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
You should be.
We should be, and we're so colourful. We're so colourful. We're not like making tiny little techie chips or something. They
did Dr. Martin's recently, but they haven't been to your place yet. So I think that's an open invite, isn't it, Julie?
I know. They should get in touch with me. They can get in touch with me here.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So what else is on the cards for Cambridge Satchel at the moment then?
Well, we continue to, so sustainability obviously is something that is really important to all of us, even though we seem to have crises all over the place. The climate change is, the big ongoing one. One thing that I think that we don't do a very good job of is saying that, yes, they're leather bags, but the leather that goes into all our satchels, it's a byproduct of the meat industry. Otherwise it would go into landfill, so you don't need to feel, and it's so important when you're buying things, just buy something that's going to last.
Yeah, exactly.
My 15-inch dark brown satchel is my favorite. You saw it on the International Women's Day thing yesterday, on that photo that was on our Instagram, where in theory the dogs were supposed to be looking at the camera the same way as I was. In fact, they just were so convinced there were dog treats in the bag, they sat there and stared at the bag. So we've got this really rogue photo out there. But no, that bag is 12 years old. I've used it as my work bag for 12 years, and it's really hitting its stride. It's soft, and it looks so full of character. And so buy things that last, and that's an important thing. And when we make the curios, we're determined not to have waste. We don't want to be throwing things away. So using the curios and the keyring, the bag charms, all those things, we use every last scrap. So we're very mindful of that. And also because you're buying something that was made in Britain, you don't have that enormous carbon footprint of bringing it over from, the other side of the world. It was made right here. Might have been made in the city next to yours, and so that carbon side. But then we did make some vegan friendly bags with Melissa, years ago, but we are on the lookout for a vegan friendly alternative material, alternative to leather, but one that again doesn't have an enormous carbon footprint. So one that isn't coming from a very long way away, because otherwise you're just ticking a box. You're saying, oh look, you can have this if you don't want leather or whatever, but actually you're just ticking a box because you're doing damage by shipping it all over. So anyone who wants to tell me about great vegan alternatives to leather that are made here in the UK, we are totally up for it.
Brilliant. Well, if I find any, Julia, that's a great challenge. Really.
Yeah,
it's a good question. I'm going to try. Oh, we have got questions. Ooh. This is new. I can bring up questions. Right. You have got a question from Tweedle's Handmade. that says she was wondering, how did you ever consider working with independent machinists, or did you always go straight to having the factory?
Oh my gosh.
This is a whole saga in itself, isn't it?
Oh no. No, in the beginning, it was with a lovely independent workshop in Hull. But Alec could only make about 200 bags a week. So then we took on Ewan in Scotland. Again, amazing. Pringle of Scotland. What a fantastic... No, it's not Pringle, the woolly Pringle. It's Pringle, if you look them up, leather goods in Scotland. And he makes amazing things. And he manufactured for us. And then I had slightly crazy Clive in Norfolk join the gang. And so we had all of these independent manufacturers. The thing as you scale is, it's quite hard to get consistency then. You know, they might be using slightly different rivets, or, you know, that consistency is quite hard. And then we hit a very poor manufacturer that ripped off all our designs. And it was at that point that I thought, you know what, we've got to start making ourselves and try and get some control, which has been a great thing. But yes, we love using independents.
Brilliant. And yeah, if anyone wants to hear the full story, you did a podcast episode with me, didn't you, a year or two ago?
I did.
I will share the link later on so everyone can revisit the whole sorry saga.
I know. Have a cup of tea ready and a box of tissues. Sit down and listen.
Oh, brilliant. We've got another question from Isabella, actually. She's asking where she could go to find all of the manufacturers and suppliers. I mean, we have a list on the Make It British website. It includes all of the members of Make It British, many of which are brands that make in the UK, like yourself, Julie, and also manufacturers as well. So that's a good place to start. It would be lovely, wouldn't it, to have a TripAdvisor type website that listed and people could review. But my techie skills do not go that far.
No, you stick at what you're doing because you're doing it brilliantly, and we're very grateful.
Oh, well, I'm doing lives all day today, Julie, so I'm going to be absolutely flipping exhausted.
You will be. Yeah, you will be.
The dogs are not going to kick off in the background. Oh, fantastic. Well, everyone's giving you tons of love for all of your suggestions about a kite mark, and also, you know, for the amazing stuff that you do at Cambridge Satchel. So it's
just communicating, you know, and getting it out there, because if people don't know, how can they make an informed choice?
Yes, exactly. And so look out for the hashtag Made in UK Day today and all the wonderful small businesses that are using it. I would also going to give a little shout out for your newsletter, Julie, the Cambridge Satchel newsletter, because it's fab, and that's where people hear about things that you do first, isn't it?
It is. And we also have a really fun, on the website, we have a really, really fun quiz that Liv and the team here at Cambridge Satchel sort of devised. It was one of these things of, oh my gosh, we make so many bags. How do people find the right bag for them? So it is kind of like the matchmaker for bags. So you can go on there and you can work through these really random questions. And at the end, it'll say, this is the bag for you. Like, this is your spirit animal. So you should get on there and see. It's not sort of like, if you were a bag, what bag would you be? It's more, this is the bag we think would suit you.
It's brilliant. It's such a good idea. And it so ties in with the kind of whole ethos of Cambridge Satchel and everything being a little bit quirky. We've got one last question for you, Julie. We've got time for one last question from Sue's Lake Designs. She said, what advice would you give to small businesses to get your name out there when you start?
Oh, it's a great question. I think the number one thing that I would do is get clear in your mind what it is that you do, that you feel you do brilliantly, and then what are you doing it for? So for me, it was to send my two kids to a really great school. So once you have that really, really clearly in your mind, it makes you really strong, because you know then what that horrible sort of phrase, you know, what success looks like. But as you grow, you don't want to keep moving the goalposts. You want to feel like, this is why I did it, and I'm doing this every day. So that's a good thing to do. And then once you've decided what you're doing and what makes you stand out, go to your local library, free, the Business and IP Centre, have a chat to them and see if there's anything that you could protect, because your idea is what makes you strong. That's your business. So see what protection you can get. And again, it's a free service. It's absolutely fantastic. And they will also tell you things about manufacturer agreements so that you can make sure that you don't get hooked up with somebody who's going to do something awful, and non-disclosure agreements so somebody doesn't run off with the idea that you've just shared with them. So
Brilliant.
that's my advice.
That's really good. I think I've done the same with Make It British right from the start. My story was always, I was disillusioned by working for the big corporate companies that were sourcing everything overseas. And I wanted to go back to supporting the companies that made here in the UK to save, you know, essential skills, just like you're doing, Julie, and making sure people are still making things in this country. Because can you imagine if we lost it all? I can
imagine, because when we had to buy one of our big cutting presses to set up, you know, the workshop, we had to import it. It came back from Poland. And when it got back, where was it made? Sheffield. Madness. That's what happens when you close down all your factories.
Yeah, that's the same with the knitting machine. So much of the machinery, you're right.
Yeah. So, yes, make it and keep making it here.
Brilliant. That's a great phrase to end on. Julie, thank you so much for joining me today.
No, my pleasure. Absolutely.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.